Hi there, I'm Sean. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to start a series called When the Left Goes Too Far. I watch a fair amount of Jordan Peterson, and something, if I'm remembering right, he would try to do is ask Democrats to come on or liberals to come on and answer that question: when does the left go too far? And that he had difficulty getting anybody on who would agree to talk to him and try to answer that question. And so in this series, I want to talk about, from my perspective, where the left has gone too far, where they've jumped the shark and gone off the rails from being just the, I don't know, Democratic Party of the 90s, early 2000s. That was just this opposition party to the Republicans. Um, and yeah, they wanted different things. We wanted different things. And sure, there was a certain animosity, and yet there was not the hate, the conflict, the anger, the things that we see going on in society today. So I want to talk about just how I viewed that change happening and what those specific sorts of areas are. I'm going to give a summary here, and then I'm going to go into these with more depth. So my summary, and I think I got them all here because I did a fair amount of writing about this. I'm going to go into these, and I'm going to start early on. So where I think that this goes back to where things started going off the rails and where the left first began in a big way, at least in my lifetime, of going too far, was actually during the time of the Obama election, his first time. I remember there was a sentiment that basically you had to vote for him because he was black, because he was going to be the first black president. And so there was this implicit pressure that, well, of course you would vote for him because of his skin color, because he was mixed, because he was black. There was this pressure and expectation, at least from the left, that that's what you had to do. And so basically there's this tying in of morality. If you're a good person, this is what you're going to do. And if you don't, then it must be because you're racist. It must be because you've got something against black people, brown people, whatever terminology. It must be this bias, whether that's an implicit secret bias inside that you don't know about or something overt. And so I see that as the beginning of this radicalization, this moving away from just a dialogue back and forth, but rather into something that's become a lot more nasty. I probably don't have more to say on that one, actually. That's maybe self-explanatory. I'm going to go through this summary. There was the increased rhetoric, which was coming under the Obama administration, towards hating the rich. I remember Occupy Wall Street was going on at that time, a sentiment of anti-America, anti-capitalism. Obama, when he first came in, said he was going to fundamentally transform America, and made pot shots at things like business owners, like saying you didn't build that, and things like that. And so there was just this sentiment of just more of this rhetoric, of this class warfare, economic warfare kind of sentiment that started to grow more in that time period. The media, with regard to, I remember when gay marriage became the hot topic of the time, because there seems to be specific topics that seem to come from the left and from the Democratic Party, where it's like they pick a topic for the year or the time where they go like, this is the thing we're going to focus in on. And at one point, gay marriage became the thing that was focused in on for a while. And so if you didn't support that, you were a bigot, you were like phobic in some way, homophobic. These terms, these discriminatory terms, these hostile sorts of terms that demonize you if you've got a different view, different opinion, whatever that may be. If you're not all on board, it's just all or nothing. If you're not all on board, then you are basically morally bad and evil. So that rhetoric got turned up again during that Obama period. The redefining of racism from racism to power, to the power narrative. So that redefining from, I mean, well, racism is like, I mean, hating somebody, disliking somebody, or stereotyping them because of their race and stereotyping them. And negatively, I mean, because people would stereotype in positive ways, and like that didn't get the same heat, right? I mean, I think there's like Seinfeld hits on that. It's like, well, if I'm pro this race or something, then like, well, that's a good thing. That's okay, right? That racism is like when you're anti. Now, of course, if you're being real strict on it, it would be racist to be favoring or against race. Anyway, lots of complexities there. That all got thrown out. Switch to racism is all about a power dynamic. Who has the power in society? It's the white people. The white people become the bourgeoisie, the brown people, the black people, the LGBT, the minorities, the special interest groups are shifted into those without power. They are the proletariat. You've got oppressors and oppressed, oppressors and victim classes, and the Democrats coming in and going, we are the party of the victim classes. We've moved from the blue collar union coal miners as the ones we're representing to all these other groups and special interest groups. And so there's the shift in racism going over to power, and then also this shift happening where who the Democratic Party is really catering to, who the left is catering to, and wooing into their party also shifts with that. There's the with that, then the change of the elevation of all other cultures, all other groups are things to elevate. We need special months for special groups. And at the same time, it's like, I mean, people should be able to celebrate their cultures and different things like that, right? But at the same time, what goes with that is that America's being put down, that America as an exceptional country is being put down, where we have to hate our country, we have to hate our culture, our values, everything is being described in negative terms, it's being attacked. And if you're not on board with attacking it, then you're called a white supremacist, like the most vile kinds of terms of white supremacist, Nazi, fascist. Those kind of terms start coming out there, that if you're not all on board with being all apologetic and hating yourself, your history and your culture and things, and wanting it radically changed, then you are evil and bad. You know, you get called, the left is calling you the white supremacist, white power, these disgusting terms, these disgusting ideologies, and at the same time they're supporting things like literal, like black power groups, with the raised, like the communist raised fist, things like that. It's like the hypocrisy going on, the double standards is insane. And so again, more division happening, the left just going, whoa, way farther over here. And so next on my, I'm not getting through this summary very quickly, am I? And this is not in a particular order necessarily, but the introduction of DEI policies, or rather DIE policies. So diversity, inclusion, equity. I want to talk about those more and break them down more, but those were coming in, I believe, under the Obama administration, certainly under Trump. And those policies all have like this air of like, well, those things kind of sound like good things, and if you just believe them at good faith, you just take them in like just take them for how they sound. Like, oh, those sound like such good things to be supportive of, when they're actually they're full of toxic ideology and Marxist ideology and things. We're going to break those down as I get through this. But just got to note, I just got to hammer this in. When people come up with acronyms, you typically want your acronym to be something you can pronounce easily. The military is full, and the government is full of acronyms for laws, policies, weapon systems, things where the acronym is specifically, the words even chosen to make it are used so that you can pronounce it. It is bizarre that the letters that the words diversity, equity, and inclusion, that those letters chosen, I wish my screen wouldn't darken like that. The only thing dark I want here is my sunglasses. That the letters would be put in the order that you can't pronounce them. DEI. Why do it that way? Why not just say this is our die policy? We're coming into your organization, we're coming into your business, and we're coming into your government to talk about die. Why not pitch it like that? And yet, why come so close to it? Why have it right there? Like, if you're a thinking person, you go, like, that obviously says die. Like, the the subtext there, it's, that's like liminal messaging. That's almost like superliminal messaging. Thinking of that Simpsons episode, Join the Navy. Anyway, moving on. The favoring of criminals over actual victims. So the way that criminals from the left end up being viewed as victims because of systemic sorts of explanations. They're oppressed by the government, by the system, and actual victims of crime, who are actually harmed by crime, end up being kind of thrown out. The person who actually does wrong can't do wrong because they're oppressed. The victim is in a weird void, like the woman who was stabbed on that subway car. And so they're kind of left out to dry. And so anyway, you've got this thing going on where the criminal class gets actually the support from the left and can go in and out of, just cycled in and out of prison, charges get dropped, things like that, while the rest of us have to suffer for it. Moving on from that, I had more thoughts about that, but I'm spacing it right now. Anyway, I wrote out a bunch here, so I'm going to get back to these things. I'm going to go over them into more depth. With that comes the favoring of illegal aliens. People who have entered here legally or exploited our immigration system, our refugee system, in order to come here. This has previous presidents, administrations have dealt with illegal immigration and things. Having borders, border security, sending people back to their nations, like deporting them, has been something that we've been doing as a country for a long time. And so, like, this is normal practice for a country to do this. But then all of a sudden this gets framed as now if you do this, now you're hateful, racist, bigoted, Nazi fascists. Even though it's something like, countries do this, like every country does this. In order to have a country, you kind of gotta, I don't know, like actually go like, here is where our country is. And this is our country, and that is not our country. And these are our citizens. And we protect them, and they pay taxes to us, and things like that. And there are rights and privileges that come with being a citizen. And if you're not that, then you're outside of that, right? These are normal things. And the left and the media have turned that into the most seething hatred to justify the most ridiculous sort of actions, like something like killing Charlie Kirk. Of course, there's all the gender ideology stuff going on. So from the beginnings that I saw in my life, where sex and gender, those used to be synonymous terms, got pulled apart, and this construct, this bizarre construct of gender being a different thing, that was itself radical. There's then the appeal to things like the Civil Rights Act to frame all this stuff in terms of human rights, civil rights, in order to really up the ante of trying to get special privileges and treatments for particular groups and how they're identifying, which increases the, well, If you're not for it, again, you're described with the most awful of terms. It's not just a difference of opinion. You're hateful, bigoted, racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, blah, blah, blah. All these words. There's then the censoring of speech, even censoring of knowledge. I know there's Jordan Peterson videos where they had to cut out aspects of the audio talking about like gender transition surgeries and things. So there's this censorship as far as even what you can maybe talk about on YouTube and things related to this stuff. Tech companies doing censorship. So certainly the left was going too far, being aligned with the Obama and Biden administrations with censoring companies and speech and things like that. The realm of gender surgeries or gender transition surgeries, and particularly for minors, is a radical and horrible thing going on. And so again, they jumped the shark with that, with putting biological men in women's spaces, women's bathrooms, fighting for those kinds of things, and really undoing the progress of the civil rights movements for women, for their rights. Now they can't even define what a woman is. The left has gone too far. Going after kids earlier and earlier, pushing this ideology onto kids at younger and younger ages in the schools and public schools, trying to put books into public libraries and things and use public funding to get these radical sex obsessed materials that go in all these just bizarre areas. I mean, these are the areas of really sexual paraphilias and the things that exist, and the things that can be very hard for people who experience them to deal with, because there can be a lot of hiding and a lot of shame there. And so it's something delicate. And yet what the left is doing is let's just expose them to all this stuff. Let's have the teachers be doing it. Let's have the left-wing teachers who have gone to through the left-wing teachers colleges. Let's have them indoctrinate the kids as early as they can, so that those kids can then get confused, bought into these ideologies, and then they want to get them with those surgeries prior to puberty and mess them up for the rest of their lives. So that's certainly where the left goes too far. What else do I got here? The COVID shot and the response to that, or the response to COVID through the lockdowns and the COVID shot, wanting people fired from their jobs, wanting to keep things locked down as long as possible, hating people for not masking up. The vitriol from the left was intense around that. The deception from the media as far as masking policies, effectiveness, and need for COVID shots and things like that. There was just a lot of one-sided propaganda there that was really gaslighting the right. And so, again, I mean, the left wanted our country shut down, and wanted to force us. We were forced to mask up, wanted shots for our bodies, wanted to force our medical care and force us to have to disclose that medical information at our workplaces. I had to get a COVID shot and prove it so that I wouldn't have to keep wearing a mask at the place where I worked. If I didn't get it, everybody with the shot wouldn't have to wear a mask. I would have to keep wearing a mask, so it would be obvious to people, and it would also, it impairs your breathing, it fogs your glasses. It's pretty annoying to have to do that. I really despise that time period and that they made us do that. And man, too many of us went along, man. The left went too far. And all the while coming from these people who say, my body, my choice, when it comes to killing their unborn baby, which they're obsessed with. As you can see, if you ever watch Charlie Kirk videos, you can see all these people, all these women coming, sometimes men too, trying to ask these questions, trying to do a gotcha question about, is there some way to justify that abortion? Man, they really want to justify the abortion. And they go the my body, my choice. And yet, man, it sure wasn't that way when it came to COVID, was it? Is there hypocrisy on the left? Just a little. Finally, there is the death of Charlie Kirk, his murder, his assassination. Um, this represented a very overt attack on free speech, on free ideas, of the ability to freely discourse, of sharing opinions and debating. And it's really the culmination of the left going too far has led to this kind of violence. And then what did they do? They doubled down on it. They try to tell us that it was a MAGA person who did it, which didn't make any sense. And then express sympathy for the shooter and his romance life. Oh, poor guy. And so many laughed and mocked and celebrated. I've seen videos of people, kids on college campuses, and one of the videos I saw recently, like every person interviewed, keeps going dark. Every person interviewed was okay with it, happy about it, or wouldn't comment, which means they didn't want to be put on video expressing anything about that. So really disgusting response to that, really doubling down, and so many more people who had the response of, well, maybe you didn't, maybe you shouldn't have been like killed like that or something, but that, well, he said bad things, and kind of you get what you deserve when you say those mean, bad, hateful things. And so even there, this disgusting sentiment that if you disagree with somebody, well, maybe they deserve to die. And so that is how far the left has come, and it's been moving there incrementally. It's been moving so far away from where the right is. I'm going to go into more detail in some of these things. Some of them I probably talked about enough, but I want to go into more of these. This is quite a list of ways that the left has moved so far off, isn't it? Like, this is not your parents' Democratic Party anymore, or your grandparents, or whatever. This isn't even the Democratic Party of the 90s. They have been usurped. They have been taken over gradually. This is not whatever liberalism was. This is not liberals. It's far away from what classical liberalism actually is, which is more like libertarianism. But your party's been usurped. You've been deceived and bought into, well, a Marxist death cult. I mean, seriously, to call a spade, and that's where the left has gone. And so we need to be calling it out, reining it in, like, come back to the place of reason and reason with us. Let's try to find solutions to these things. Let's try to find reasonable areas of agreement. Let's focus in on truth and science and the sorts of rights that built this country, because another area to talk about is just the different perspectives on what rights mean, right? That our country was built on negative rights versus positive rights, as in the rights of things that the government can't do to us, versus the liberal perspective that rights are things that the government maybe grants us or even gives to us, like rights to free health care and free housing and free this and free that and free this and free that, which is of course not really free because it comes from the taxpayer, and that means we all have to actually be burdened to be forced to work and pay taxes. And honestly, anybody who knows me knows that I would say taxation is theft, right? You don't pay it because of your good nature. You pay it because you have to, so the IRS doesn't come after you. This is not a voluntary system, and I'm not a fan of the income tax, and I'm certainly not a fan of socialist systems that want to put the barrel of a gun to your head to make you pay to support everybody else. That is not a good deal for society, and that hasn't worked, doesn't work, never works, won't work no matter how you try to do it. Anyway, that's what I have for you today. Just some little sidetracks. I'm going to go into more detail into some of these areas of where the left goes too far, has gone too far, and I'm going to present this as a video series. So thank you. Let's keep turning up the volume, turning up the pressure on the left to get back to a place of reason, because you know what? We don't hate them. We don't hate them, and we want to get along. We don't want this country to go down the track of like a friggin' civil war or something. Like, let's figure out how to peacefully get along if we can. Because, man, there are scary other places things could go if we can't keep talking to each other, and that requires good faith, and that's something else I'm going to talk about here is good faith. Do you argue, do you debate out of good faith? Are you actually trying to get at understanding? Are you actually trying to learn and grow and understand one another's perspectives? Are politicians and policies and new things that come up, like when things like DEI or new terminology comes out of the woodwork, are those things actually being done in good faith or actually out of manipulation? There's just not very much trust for the right or the left towards one another. Trust is really broken down, and this country, the kind of tension we have is like the kind of tension where a couple is on the verge of divorce. And unfortunately, you can't always save that couple. You learn that as a couples therapist. Sometimes there's a time when a couple has to divorce. And it's scary to think, are we getting near there? I don't know. Let's try not to. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.